Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 2518, Doubleshot number 2412. This is the first of three comic corners I'm doing today. This first one, now, there's not technically a trade to collect this stuff for some reason. I'm going to call it under this name Phantom Rider's Early Adventures, which is from the original volume for Ghost Rider released in 1967, written by Gary Frederick, which lasted for 7 issues. And also, we're going to be talking about, which is from this era, the first 7 issues of Western Gunfighters. Mostly put in the first issue debut of course, when he was called that point, he was called Ghost Rider. Yes, because of his white outfit. He was later named Knight Rider in the second volume for the series, and later on he was called the Phantom Rider. At one point, he was also called the Headless Horseman. Yes, seriously, it's like Marvel just couldn't decide a name for this character because we already have a Ghost Rider. He basically has a flaming skull and rides a motorcycle. Yeah, now he fights also like a version of a character called Tarantula. Fights also a guy called Cyclone, which isn't fighting in this book. Fights up with Western Gunfighters. Now, Western Gunfighters is picking up right where this book left off. My guess is the reason why that the book got canceled after 7 issues. I don't know if it was due to low sales. Maybe because Marvel probably didn't feel as though at the time that Western heroes were not that big of a thing. So they probably end this particular book to continue on in Western Gunfighters for 7 issues where he goes on more adventures in the book. And then by issue 7, the original one dies. And then his sidekick takes over for him, and he dies in the very same issue, and then he's replaced by his brother, who's basically also the same Ghost Rider who pops up in the Time Travel stuff for Avengers. Yeah. And by the way, the guy's name... Now, there are a total of 3 different Phantom Riders now. One who actually... Yeah, the original Phantom Rider, his name was Carter Slade, but Carter Slade is not the one who took over for. He got died, but he came back and died again in the next issue. Then he got replaced by Jamie Jacobs, I think it was like an FBI agent, I think it was. And he was basically the partner of the Ghost Rider from this book. Then he dies in the very same issue. And then pretty much basically we have Lincoln Slade take over the title. And oh boy, this jerkwad. Why would I call him a jerkwad, you might ask? Well, this same guy popped up in West Coast Avengers and the Time Travel stuff, decided to use a drug he drugged Mockingbird and raped her. And Hawkeye's response was to divorce her for being raped. Instead of, being a consoling husband. It's almost like the writers at that point did not want these two put together anymore. But the original Avengers are actually really interesting. Check them out. The thing is, Marvel, for some reason, has not collected these issues in trade for some reason. I don't know why. They just haven't. But what ranking I give these books? I'm going to give the Ghost Rider book roughly I'm going to give it a 9. Same Western Gunfighters. Alright, next up we have is the Midnight Massacre crossover, which is a 5-part story that starts off at Nightstalkers number 10. We also have Ghost Rider 40, Morbius number... What number is this one? Number 12. Along with Darkhold number 11. And Spirit's Vengeance number 13. Mostly put in the story, this is basically a story where Blade becomes a bad guy, known as Switchblade. And, of course, we have to reunite the Midnight Suns, who surprisingly don't have Doctor Strange involved in this major story thing. Yeah, he may have brought them together, but he's like, nah, I'm not taking part in this. But he took part in Stage of Darkness, which took place come out not long after this. So basically, I had to fight him throughout the course of the story. And eventually, he is defeated, thanks to some stuff with Lilith that he's turning to this. Excuse me. Yes, but I figured though, now I talk about the story itself is actually quite interesting. I really enjoyed it. But I'm also going to talk about the final issue discussed for Nightstalkers, which is issues 12, 13, and 16, 18. 1213 is the two-part aftermath story for Midnight Massacre, which is mostly put basically trying to have Blade come back together with a team. Becomes like, yeah, we'll be full team again, and then Siege Darkness happens, which I've discussed already. So we're skipping over that and going straight to the final three issues, where in the first issue, coming right after Siege Darkness, we have Nightstalkers versus a robot from Hydra. Yes, seriously. They have to deal with that, some more demons, and then eventually with the final issue, they disband. Yep, they disband. They go their separate ways. Blade gets a solo book. Frank Drake and Hannibal King, they don't do very much afterwards. Not really. It's something though, the fact Nightstalkers decided to disband with the final issue. Well, they apparently died, so they had no choice in the matter. Hannibal King himself would come back after this. How? Yeah, so basically Blade got his own spin-off book, which I'll be discussing that. There's also they also in these issues run into one of Dracula's brides, Domi. Mm-hmm. Now what happens to Hannibal King after the book wraps up? Well, once the book wraps up, he goes up the ghost. Well, let's see. He possibly he basically him in the first issue of Blade the Vampire Hunter, and then there's a Blade one shot. Couple issues during his mystery, Spider Limit 20. Appeared as a recurring character in, I think it's Blade Volume 6. It appears in the first issue of a book, and then it's an Spider-Man .1 book, and that's it for him. I think, okay, what about Frank Drake? Frank Drake, well, he, of course, I don't think does very much after this book wraps up. He, of course, this is something really strange about Frank Drake. The guy only appeared 3 times after this book wrapped up. His next appearance was in History of Marvel Universe #1, which was released in 2011. Then he appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 699.1, which is a flashback book, and they also appeared in Blade First Bite, Infinite comic. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. So you could kind of say that the first issue of Blade, which I'll review next time, this is kind of the way to write off the character. Yeah. So I'll be talking more about basically Blade next time, talking about the first volume for his Blade book. But sadly, this book got canceled after only just 18 issues, presumably due to low sales. So my guess is Marvel must have faith in Blade more than Frank Drake and Hannibal King. So they gave us a solo book. And I'll talk about that next time. I'm talking about basically more Blades, because this is kind of the end of Nightstalkers book. Nightstalkers, final thoughts on this book. His book is really, really good. Now, surprisingly, D.G. Chester is the guy who doesn't finish up the book. No, surprisingly, he doesn't. And you're thinking, how? You might ask. Well, did he leave with the Midnight Massacre crossover? No, he was still writing it. So, did he leave after the crossover? Nope. Actually, he did. Basically, with issue 12, he left. But he only did the first 11 issues, and then he left. He got replaced with Stephen Grant. And Stephen Grant, meanwhile, though, He himself, if I can find him here. Excuse me. He would just write just one issue of Nightstalkers. Actually, no, it was actually more than that. Yeah, he would write the book from issue 12 to pretty much like 15. Yeah, it's about issue. He was in the book very, very briefly. Who replaced him for the last 3 issues? Frank Levis. Yep, he replaced him on the book. And he just did the last 3 issues of the book. He mostly worked on a series called Hokum and Hex. That was his primary book he worked on at Marvel, one of the Clive Barker books. Yep, and then pretty much after the book wrapped up and Hokum and Hex, he did the 20th Name for Incredible Hulk, Name for Ghost Rider, from the second volume of the book, which we'll talk about in the future. And also, the last book he worked at Marvel was Saban's Masked Rider #1. Yeah, which is a one-shot war Masked Rider team with the Power Rangers in the comic form. Yep. But Nightstalker was a great book. Loved the book altogether. And I'll be discussing more about this era soon. Okay, so that's a particular view. Next up is more Bookinger. Okay, next video. Bye.